My friend's husband tried to ditch her after surgery, so I had to step in.
And ditch him back.
I apologize if the title is a little misleading. It's not as bad as it makes it seem, but still pretty terrible. My friend has an unreliable partner who is now her husband. Tough. They've had problems regarding his insensitivity and unreliability. By the way, this comes from Dazzling Brush 9005. And if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/okstorytime subreddit. I'm Sophia.
I'm Carly.
And we're here to give good advice goofily, but we don't have all the answers. We only know what we'd do. So let us know what you would do in the comments. And OP says, basically, her husband doesn't want to do anything that inconveniences his comfort and fun. So if it means thinking about other people, namely her, and having to do something instead of, say, playing with his band or watching TV, he doesn't want to do it. Well, my friend is having surgery on Friday, a pretty serious surgery that will incapacitate her for about 8 weeks. I told her I would be there on the day of and hang out until she was out of surgery. It's going to be a long day, but I promised her I'd be there. Her husband is going to be taking her in and all that. Her and I had a discussion over the weekend about his ability to step up to the plate and take care of her while she is recovering. She will need help with walking and managing her meds so she can stay ahead of the pain. I told her I did not trust him at all to be there for her and that I would be texting him often to make sure he's doing his job. She was all, no, he's gonna step up to the plate. I trust him. At first, she hadn't and had planned to make meals for herself so he could heat them up for her and clean the house for him. Then yesterday, she told me she wasn't going to do any of that and she's going to trust he will take care of her. Ooh, this seems like a recipe for disaster.
I'm worried.
He just asked me if I would take care of her the day after surgery so he could go hang out with friends.
Oh my god.
The day after?
Oh my god.
The first day recovering, and he's already ready to bounce. I thought about it, fuming, and concluded that no, I would not do that for him. A, he promised her he would take care of her. B, I don't want to set a precedent that he'll just call on me when he wants to ditch her, because I can see that happening very easily. And C, if he told her now what he was planning, it would have caused a fight between them 2 days before her surgery, and she's already anxious about that. I didn't want to add to it. If this was week 2 and he needed a break, I totally get it and would be over there, but this is day 1. Now the question is, do I tell her about this? Not now, obviously, but when she's well enough to receive it. Yes. 100%. Yes.
100%.
Oh my goodness. Receipts. Show the receipts.
Yeah.
Hopefully this is a text conversation.
Even if it's not, I feel like she knows that he's unreliable enough.
Yeah, absolutely. And there is an update, but not right before her surgery, but
no.
You know.
After she's healing for a while, I feel like you can still do it in that 8 weeks, though.
Yeah, I agree. Because she'll feel it. She'll see him not showing up.
Exactly.
Update. Turns out I didn't have to tell her. He told on himself.
Oh my god!
I don't even know why I would, I don't know why I didn't see that coming.
Genuinely same.
Why would he care? Why would he think he's doing the wrong thing?
He's not thinking about her?
No! I just got a message from her about it. Let's see how this goes. Keep y'all updated. And there is an update right here. Well, he told her that he asked me to, as he put it, babysit her. You just told your wife that you asked someone else to babysit her? She is upset, but mostly I think she's just tired and disappointed in him. I asked her if he told her to test the waters and see if he could just leave while she was sleeping. She said yes, because he said, "You'll just be sleeping, right?" She said nothing, and finally he worked it out himself that since it was her first day home, he should stay with her. I told her when she's better, she has decisions to make. She said in his mind, he thinks if he can get someone to babysit her and do the fun thing, then in his mind, it's a win-win. I told her he's a selfish prick. And there are some relevant comments. Oh, man. I assume those relevant comments are just going to be answering the should I tell her, which
I
it doesn't even matter anymore because he's already told.
We should have guessed that he was going to tell on himself, but the fact that he just fully was like, yeah, I really think like your friend should babysit you.
Yeah.
Babysit?
Baby? You just called your wife a baby?
She's having major surgery.
Yeah.
She'd have a major surgery.
That's insane. Yeah, divorce. That's it. And he's consistently shown a pattern of not showing up, and then when she needs him most, he still can't do it?
Yeah, because it's not like it was like, oh, I'm having surgery and now he's not showing up. It's like, girl, he hasn't been.
Never. Relevant comments. Comment 1 says, yes, tell her neutrally, as if it's not an issue. This is how I'd play it. Hey, your husband let me know he was looking for help on day 2, and I'm sorry I'm not free, but if you are really desperate, you can call me after X time. You can do her a favor after he's failed. He gets no favors. Consider being free that day when she calls, because you know he's almost certainly going to bail on her anyway. Maybe over meal prep a bit so you can leave a few things in her freezer, but only after he's failed to feed her. Let him fail first, then help her. Never, ever cover for him in advance. Be luckily able to help when he doesn't perform. She has to feel his failure first. Unfortunately, nothing but that anxiety and suffering is going to teach her. OP says, good idea, letting him fail first, and he will. I am seriously wondering if he will find a way to leave her on Saturday. And his friend knows his wife is having surgery. Why would you ask if he could come out knowing that? What the heck? Comment 2. Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah, that's very true too.
But also, I can't imagine this guy has very good friends.
I also can't imagine that, considering he doesn't really care about his wife, that he's out here being like, and the wife's got surgery.
Oh, the wife's got really serious surgery. I should be home, but I'm not.
I would guess they don't know.
Yeah, or he's just saying like, oh yeah, she's sick.
Yeah.
She's just at home sleeping.
A minor procedure.
Yeah. Comment 2 says, absolutely let her know that her husband didn't want to do even this little bit for her. She probably already knows though. OP says she does know. I think she's hoping for the best, and yeah, she does make excuses for him and will even say she is making excuses for him while doing it. I think in her mind she is thinking that surely he wouldn't ditch her so soon, or wouldn't do it while she's recovering from something that requires a lot of help. I told her when she was making plans to make meals for herself that she really had to think long and hard about how much prep work she's doing for herself, because she knows how unreliable and selfish she is. I'm not entirely sure what made her change her mind about that. I think she was offended when I told her I had absolutely no faith in him at all to step up, and now here we are. Why did OP's friend marry that guy? OP says I questioned her when she did based on the problems they were already having for this kind of behavior. I think she fell into the trap of marrying his potential and not who he really is. Comment 3 says I wouldn't tell her. She doesn't need the worry before her surgery. Tell her husband, no, you can't help on day 1 and he'll have to manage himself and see what happens from there. Either he manages and things go well, or he doesn't and your friend finds out how important she is to her husband in the scheme of things. Honestly, this feels like a moment where the future of their relationship could go 2 ways, so I would try to stay out of it as much as possible. And OP says she has talked about leaving him over the past several months since his selfishness is epic, and he never takes responsibility for his actions when he's called out on it. He'll pull the I don't like your tone card when she tries to talk to him and makes it about that. If I had a nickel for every time she's called me after an argument and asked, am I crazy? Because he gaslit her in some way. I definitely don't want to tell her now, not before surgery, though I do wonder if he will find another way to go. Maybe ask another friend of hers. He told me in the text he hadn't talked to her about it, that he was waiting to see what I'd say first. And does OP's friend and her husband have kids? OP says, the sad thing is he does have a child with his previous wife, and he has a terrible relationship with his kid because he never took an active interest in him. It is always wild to me when people get into relationships with people who have kids that they don't care about.
Yeah.
It's shocking to me.
And then to be shocked that he's like inconsiderate about you. He's not even taking care of his kid.
Yeah, his own kid. And, you know, maybe there's people out there who are like, well, I don't want kids, so, you know, I don't really need him to be a good father. But it's like,
it's
that
still
shows up
on himself.
Yeah, that shows up everywhere. We've read a couple stories where partner, like the OPs, will tell us, oh, yeah, my partner, you know, he doesn't have a great relationship with his child. I'm like, whoa, blazing red flag. His kid is an adult now and wants nothing to do with him. Maybe we should look into that, OP's friend. LOL, no, she doesn't want kids. And he already has one from a previous marriage, which is probably in her mind where she's like, oh, it doesn't matter because I don't want kids anyway.
Right. He's never going to have to raise a kid with me.
Yeah. Is it possible for the husband to get therapy? OP says, also, he refuses to get therapy. And there is a third update.
Oh my God.
I hope it's my friend had her surgery, it went well, and she's getting a divorce.
I hope it's my friend had a surgery, it went well, her husband took care of her, but she's still getting a divorce.
She's still divorcing him because of all the times that he didn't show up.
Like, I hope maybe he was actually there, the bare minimum.
Yeah. Update 3, 5 days later. Hello, the surgery went well. Yay. So I will start there. It was a long day and she didn't get home until after midnight.
Oh, wow.
She told me her husband was doing a great job when I checked in on her on Saturday. And when I checked in on Sunday, he was still holding strong. And then came Sunday evening. She sent me a message that his care was slipping, but not to message him about it. However, he's working from home right now, which was up in the air last week. Hopefully, he'll do that the rest of the week. I told her on Friday that if she asks me for something, to come over, do something for her, etc., I'll do it. But not if he asks. I will not bail him out. She agreed with me on that. He has a class on Wednesday evening that he teaches. So she asked me if I could come over while he's gone. I'll get even more intel then, I am sure. She did say he was pretty shaken on Saturday when he saw how weak she was and how difficult it is for her to move around. Hopefully he'll stay the course, but who knows? Thank you for all who commented on my last post. I told her about it, and she got a punt out of it. By the way, you should tell everyone that you know about the full episode stories just like this that we have on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or iHeartRadio. Just search up OK Storytime. But there is a little bit left to the story. Any final thoughts?
I really wanted him to slip up.
Well, yeah, so far we've gotten your 2 out of 3.
This is true.
Yeah.
It's still on its way.
It could still be on its way to your 3 out of 3.
Like, I don't want to say that I hope, like, I know I was like, I hope he slips up, but like, I don't hope for that because that affects her.
Yeah.
But I do hope that she realizes.
Yeah, that's all I want. I want her to get the help that she needs and also realize that this guy sucks. I'll say that he did try to float the idea to her on Wednesday night of going out because she'd been sleeping anyway. She told him that I refused to babysit her because I felt it was inappropriate for him to bail on her after her surgery. She shrugged. She told him she agreed with me and that he has a history of not being there when she needs him and bailing when things get hard, so this was an opportunity for him to step up to the plate. We shall see what happens. And comment 1, she sent me a message that his care was slipping, but not to message him about it. Yada yada. I hope friend doesn't cave under the notion, well, he did more than I expected. OP says, same. Their entire relationship has been incredibly imbalanced. He can't even be bothered to remember her birthday?
What?
Oh my gosh. And as of this year, be there for it. Comment 2 says she needs to get out of that relationship while she still can. It's not going to get any better. OP says, I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon or ever.
No.
I've known her for over 10 years and she has talked about leaving him for lesser infractions and it still hasn't happened. I don't believe she will until she does, you know what I mean? Comment 3 says, when he's constantly negotiating the least amount of effort that she will accept, it speaks volumes to his lack of quality. Comment 4 says, it's so unfair. His refusal to care for her body when in such a vulnerable state is a refusal to care for her heart as well. Nobody's heart should be breaking when their body is in a fight to recover. Would he accept this from her if the tides were reversed? I think not. And that is the end of the story.
My best friend hid an open relationship from me, and it ruined everything.
Now, why'd you go and do that?
And this comes directly from the OK Storytime subreddit. I, 27 female, had been friends with Sarah, 27 female, literally since kindergarten. We grew up in the same neighborhood. Our families were close, and my family loves her. Her parents have always loved me, and to this day, still care for and ask about me to my parents. By the way, this comes from My Name Is Not, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OK Storytime subreddit, which is where this is from. And I'm Carly.
I'm Sophia.
And we're here to give good advice goofily, but we don't have all the answers. We only know what we would do. So let us know what you would do in the comments. And OP says, Sarah is diagnosed with a chronic psychiatric disorder, and I was one of the only people close to her who knew about this from a young age. I was the person who went with her to all of her doctor's appointments for support. I talked to her every day on the phone to help her sleep. I helped organize and set up alarms for her to wake up in time. This was all in my preteens and high school years. Because of her diagnosis, she often got away with small remarks about me. She would always pick on me for being too skinny, because she was overweight, just so she could complain about me not going to the gym with her. Same thing when it came to who I hung out with, or if I invited her to family gatherings or not. I would always just brush off her comments and tantrums. I had piano class twice a week, horseback riding lessons twice a week. I was an A student and also worked or visited family during holidays in other cities and went to church 3 times a week.
3 times that's not even like the recommended amount.
She was also a very productive student and worked really hard. She is an only child to elderly immigrant parents, which has forced her to care for them in different ways than I would have, so I tried to help as much as I could in my friendship with her. Since we went to school together and also lived in the same area, of course, she was the one I would talk to about boys. It was the typical BFF talks about all our fantasies for the future, what we liked in boys, and how we wanted life to look. She always knew who I had crushes on. The summer before we started high school, she and I were in a mall, and she told me her cousin would be passing by. That was the first time I met my ex, Adrian, 30 male.
Whoa. He was 30 at the time?
Wait. Okay,
Yeah. This is like her soon-to-be boyfriend, now currently ex.
Yeah. So they were 3 years apart, to
Yeah.
clarify.
Yeah.
At the time, he had just graduated high school, but was intrigued by me as well as I was in him.
How old were you?
3 years younger than him.
So he's probably like 18 or 19.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Okay. She's like 15?
Yeah. You know, I don't really like that age gap when one of you
Is
when
out
you
of high
meet
school.
When one of you
Yeah,
is already out.
I agree.
If you met in high school
That'd
and you
be
were
like-
dating and then someone graduated, sure.
I think that's okay, but the meeting when they're outside of high school, I'm like,
You're just at different places in your life.
yeah.
Sarah put me in contact with Adrian because she saw that I was intrigued by him and she knew he would like someone like me. That summer, we talked on the phone every day, and that is also how I started texting and talking to Adrian. For a short period during the summer, he would stop answering and was very distant at times. We spoke just before me and Sarah were starting high school and agreed that it would be better to stay friends since he was leaving to study in the States and I live in Europe. Wow.
Dang.
That would be very long distance. 6 months went, and me and Adrian were in contact back and forth as friends through message, while Sarah was also kind of in contact with him and kind of kept my interest in him alive. She would talk about how good he is, how much he likes me, that I should tell him how I feel. When I came to her after 6 months to tell her about a boy in my class that I was interested in, she pressured me into talking to Adrian about it. I told him, and the exact reaction he gave was what my friend told me about him. We decided to be exclusive, and he had openly told me he loves me and that I am now his.
Oh, that's concerning language.
We started dating long distance, and most of our communication was through text. Adrian was weirdly very private, and I always fell for the excuse that he had a lot of school, was busy surviving, and that it is normal for a boyfriend to not respond for a month or so.
A month?
A month?
What?
Presumably this
my
happened a couple
God.
times.
Oh my God. I saw my boyfriend yesterday and it had been like a day. And he was like, "Oh, we haven't seen each other in ages."
After a month, I'm considering us broken up.
Yeah.
Honestly, way sooner than
I'm
a
sorry,
month. Am I
like after
considering
a week of no
of
contact.
no contact? I'm going a couple days of
Yeah.
no contact
I'm
before
like-
I'm losing hope.
Yeah, I'm like one.
I'm
maybe-
calling the cops
Yeah.
after 3 days. Like, hey, I'm not sure if this man's
I
alive.
think he's gone. Yeah, that's crazy.
He was always in contact with Sarah, though. She knew everything. Weird things started happening in our relationship whenever something was going on in my life where Sarah was mad at me for continuing to live my life according to my other priorities. Okay.
Why is like her cousin so involved in his
Right?
younger cousins like friendships? It feels like he's like her lackey.
Yeah. Adrian cheated on me 6 months into our relationship, and Sarah convinced me to stay with him.
him.
3 months later, Sarah and his roommate tells me he has the same condition that Sarah has. I didn't even dare asking him to text me or Skype me when I wanted to because he needed his space. I was merely a girlfriend that would talk to him on his good days and leave him alone during his bad days. 3 years into this chaotic relationship.
You said 3 years? I'm sorry, one?
At least 3.
One count one? It's long distance. So they're doing 3 years of long distance where he's going MIA
For
for months at a time. and cheats on her. This is crazy.
I was admitted to the hospital and undergoing treatment for 3 weeks. I had a few fights during my stay there with Sarah regarding the fact that the hospital wouldn't allow her there at the same time as my family. I started asking her why Adrian wouldn't call or text me when I'm sick, and I started questioning the fact that he couldn't at least give 1 minute to say hi to me because of the schoolwork and his periods. 1 day later, I get a message from him where he initiates the conversation by being mad at me for not telling him myself that I was sick. I started distancing myself from him completely. During this time, I also gained a very close friend. Thank God.
Yeah.
She was there for me as a stranger, and we started hanging out more and more. Sarah did not like this. She had a bad period and required my attention all the time. Eventually, she started speaking less and less about Adrian. Mind you, we were still together at this time, and I hadn't heard much from him.
What do you mean you were still together and you hadn't heard much from him?
We were still dating. It's been a couple of months since we really talked, though.
That's crazy.
What? I go on a holiday with my family. I got a phone call from Sarah during one of the evenings. I hear that she is shaking in her voice. She tells me this. Oh, no.
No.
Oh, no.
No.
I don't even want to say it.
No.
Adrian and I are in fact not cousins in a biological way. They met through family friends, and they were actually a couple before me and him were a thing.
Adrian needs to go on a list.
See, I really thought, this was in fact the direction I thought this was going. I just thought they were fully gonna be biological cousins.
It's happened before. Oh my God.
During the summer when we connected and they were out of the country together, she was actually still with him. But they were in an open relationship, which basically meant she wanted to date, and he used me as an excuse for her to end the open relationship. He told her that he would pursue me during their open relationship, and she decided to end that constellation because she cared for me. That's also when he started distancing himself.
OP, I'm so sorry. Oh my goodness, you have a really insane friend.
Then she tells me that she cheated on him, and they decided to end their relationship, and he was actually falling for me. They ended it amicably. She tells me that a lot of the situations that had happened with him was them trying to get me to leave since he is so messed up, and she wanted what was best for me. When he didn't text, he was going through depression, and she was the only one who understood him. At the same time, she was the one who encouraged me to stay with him because he loved me so much. I have never in my life been this quiet, and the shock and confusion took over my anger. I sat there on my bed and was told that 3 years of my life have been fabricated, manipulated, and altered by not only my partner, but also my best friend. I sat there for an hour just trying to express my feelings, but I couldn't.
No.
Instead, I forgave her.
No.
I ended it with Adrian the same day. For a month or two, I pretended like nothing had happened. I felt fooled, controlled, stupid, naive, and all of the above, but I couldn't do more than to move on and try to save an inch of normality left in this situation. I would question situations over and over again, not knowing if that was even Adrian speaking or if it was Sarah who wrote me through him. After high school graduation, it was my first summer fully away from Sarah and Adrian. I was of drinking age. They both don't like drinking and would judge me on it. I was living my best life when she was away. That summer changed my life. Before Sarah returned, I had met my now husband, Patrick, 29 male at the time. He was 21. I told Sarah as my friend that I had met someone and she was excited for me. She was returning home a couple of weeks later, and we had been on good terms during that period through distance calls. When she returned, she tells me when we meet that she has actually been in contact with Patrick through Instagram.
No! Get your paws off him! No!
She told me to call him and ask about this and to put him on speaker. I did, and when I asked him, he responded with a "what the F are you talking about" sentence. And she hung up the phone on him and then proceeds to tell me that her gut instinct was off with him. I started ignoring her completely. I pursued my relationship with Patrick, and he became my best friend. and helped me through really rough times. One day, Sarah calls and tells me she wants to meet up now because she's feeling bad.
I don't care. Beep. That's me hanging up the phone.
I told her I couldn't because I was with Patrick and his family.
Nice.
She totally flipped on me, called me a bad friend, told me I disrespected her instinct, and that all of her other friends listened to her advice. She then tells me Adrian is sick, he's having a psychotic meltdown period, and also got a tattoo of me on his arm. I told her to stop talking about my ex with me out of respect of my relationship. That was it. She had another meltdown on text, and I ignored. I totally ghosted her. Moved out of the neighborhood, worked and studied at uni. I got my own apartment, got myself new friends, matured out of that whole relationship. 4 years later, Sarah called me asking for us to meet up, and I agreed.
No.
When we meet, she told me how she felt. And I told her everything I have ever felt, seen, done, and heard from our relationship. I told her that her instincts messed my life up and that my new life is exactly what I wanted and that she could never have that type of role in my life again. We can stay acquainted and get to know each other as adults now, but as an adult, I have other boundaries. And by the way, we have no boundaries of you listening to full episodes of stories just like this. Go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, wherever you get your podcasts, search up OK Storytime.
None at all.
Just
No
let you
boundaries
right in.
at all. Just come on in.
Come on in. There's just a little bit left.
Man, oh man. Yeah, OP, hold strong. Don't. Honestly, I would block her. 'Cause
I
this
wouldn't
woman is
even, get
crazy.
We don't even need to know each other as adults.
No. Like, yeah, you might have been there for her so much as a kid, but like at this point, she has lied, manipulated, just been such an like comedically awful person that it doesn't even seem real how awful she is. So block her, never talk to her again, and enjoy your life with Patrick.
Yeah. She actually accepted this and was just happy to be forgiven. She even met my husband and apologized for her misconception of him. She wished me a good life, and since then we have met maybe once every 2 years out of coincidence, and we are friendly. I have now been with my husband for 8 years. Everyone around us loves us. We are a big blended family, and we are expecting soon as well. Sarah still lives at home, and I think she's working full-time and managing her life accordingly. That is the end of that story.
I stood up for my friend, and I ended up being ostracized by everyone.
That makes no sense.
Last year, I had an amazing group of friends, but the most personal friends I had were Jeff and Denna. Both are related as cousins, but I'm not related to them. I'm 2 and 3 years older than them, respectively, and knew them forever. And we go to the same college. We had a lot of friends, meetups, and parties together, not even real parties, mostly moments at our homes, drawing, eating, playing Wii Sports or Guitar Hero. Things were going smoothly, and even on Valentine's Day, we made an oath to never stop being friends. By the way, this comes from Natural Pattern 2507, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. I'm Sophia.
I'm Carly.
And we're here to give good advice goofily, but we don't have all the answers. We only know what we do. So let us know what you would do in the comments. And OP says, at the same time, my BFF, who I will call Dem, was part of the friend group and very, very close to Jeff, who claimed to be bi. Both Dem and Jeff seem to have a romantic on and off relationship. Nothing they ever admitted to, but I got some messages from Jeff confessing his love for Dem and long audio messages from Dem telling me how handsome Jeff was and how he was his dream guy. Feelings seemed to dissolve a year ago, and we as a group didn't even pay attention to it since it was something no one talked about.
Those were not the cousins, right?
No,
Okay,
yeah.
great.
It was like Denna and Jeff are the
Denna.
cousins,
Okay.
and then Dem
Dem.
and Jeff were into each other.
And you know what? You do you. Those are so close of names.
Yeah, we could have kind of differentiated names a bit more here.
But I'm up to speed now.
Jumping to the real messed up stuff. Some months ago, Jeff made a friend at a concert, Batty. Batty is younger than Jeff by like 3 years, so I didn't have a relationship with them, though something felt extremely off about Batty. It made me very uncomfortable even bringing them up in conversation, and I felt very guilty since the whole friend group loved them, and I knew I would sound crazy if I told anyone. So I kept my mouth shut and continued having the friends gatherings acting as usual until Batty started being very close to Dem, even calling him his boyfriend jokingly, being very touchy and close, making inappropriate comments about his biological body, making very explicit drawings of them together, sometimes including Jeff as well.
Okay.
The group was being kind of separated into two sections. Jeff, Dem, and Batty, and Denna and me, having only a few gatherings but talking almost every day and text messages. To my misfortune, Denna also liked Batty a lot and wouldn't stop talking about how nice and kind they were and how talented too. For some short context, we all loved everything regarding fashion and clothing creation, and Batty was no exception and made some very cool stuff. Back to the story. One day, some months ago, Batty, Dem, and Jeff started a polyamorous relationship, which didn't seem shocking or taboo to me since I'm in one too, with my boyfriends Reed, Bill, and Aiden. We are not in an open relationship. We strictly date each other as a single, closed relationship regarding the four of us. So I gave them some relationship advice and tried getting along with Batty since Dem was very, very happy. Only 2 months from the start of the relationship passed before I began to realize some things. Jeff and Batty had their relationship public everywhere with photos, anniversary months, and tags, but Dem was treated like a secret. I told him that was wrong and that he shouldn't be hiding himself from a relationship he was supposed to be a part of. It's a good point.
That is a good point. However, I think that if it's such a unique way of doing a relationship and it wasn't previously bothering them, there's no reason to have brought that up and have like put your standards onto their relationship.
That is a great point. I think I may have, talked to Dem and not kind of put it in his mind, but just said like, hey, how are you feeling? Like, do you have any questions that I can help with?
Normal check-in kind of thing. Yeah.
When confronted, Jeff said it was just until they were ready to come out of the closet as polyamorous. And while I understood that, it still felt very fishy and strange because they both talked a lot about being open and ignoring other people's thoughts on them. But again, I didn't say anything, noticing a pattern now. About 3 months ago, I was at a fashion show when Dem called, crying like crazy. He said Batty had broken up with him, saying they didn't like men wannabes.
Ooh.
And that they were tired of acting like he was a real man. Dem is I was beyond infuriated and called Jeff. He said he didn't know anything. And after some days of tense atmosphere, they decided to have an open relationship where Batty was dating Jeff and some other girl named Mira, and Jeff was dating Dem apart from his relationship with Batty. That is actually insane of all of them. If I were OP, I would completely stop talking to Batty. If I ever had
Seems
found
like
out
OP
that
probably has.
Yeah, if I ever had a friend who
Yeah.
told me that like someone
1000%.
said that to them, I'd be like, we're done.
I'm never speaking to you again.
Ever. And then on top of that, if I were Jeff and Dem, I would not. I mean, if I were Dem, I wouldn't be dating Jeff. If I were Jeff, certainly wouldn't be dating Batty.
Yeah, I'm not sure how you can be dating someone
who doesn't,
who you claim to probably love at this point, and then also be dating their like biggest hater now.
Yeah. It's like you're dating this person and their op. No.
Crazy.
Dem was happy again, but because of all that had happened, I really felt like I wasn't crazy about Batty being suspicious. And so I made a private gathering with Denna and Dem and told them my gut feeling about Batty and how I didn't trust them with Jeff. Safe to say I got made fun of and torn apart by their comments, saying I was completely wrong about them and was making a big deal out of nothing, making me very sad and insecure about my instincts. Dem said that? Dem, who literally was like dealing with Batty's phobic comments, said that you were wrong for being suspicious of Batty?
And this is post the comments.
Yeah.
That one broke my brain.
Strange.
Okay.
A week later, just before Denna's birthday, Jeff blocked Dem everywhere. And when Dem went to his house to ask why, Batty opened the door and told him to leave them alone. Dem was devastated when Denna also told him she was uncomfortable with him right now and that she needed a break from him. Dem went into a depressive spiral and I comforted him for a few days. Dem has since abandoned college and I go see him every now and then. I went to talk to Denna and she said she was still my friend as well as Jeff, but I wasn't happy with how they treated my BFF. So I talked with both of them about being respectful to each other and how I was not putting up with their bad ways of managing relationships. They said I was right and that they were very sorry, even talking about how they were planning to apologize to Dem, which never happened, and were very ashamed of their actions. Not even a month passed when I realized I had lost 18 followers on Instagram, who I then identified as some of my college friends, including Jeff. I had a private account just for friends, totaling about 57 people, not all very close friends, but people I've talked to and mostly know in real life, and some virtual friends. Summing it up, I couldn't contact Jeff, so I sent him a letter, scared of going to his house and facing Batty being violent and rude. I received back a letter saying he didn't want friends who could support problematic individuals like Dem.
And I don't want friends who support problematic individuals like Batty.
Literally, I would be so confused. I would go to Jeff and I'd say, what actually do you think is the problem here?
I would be so confused. I would be assuming that Batty's probably obviously spinning the story.
Lying.
I also would probably just give up on that friendship with
Jeff.
He can think what he wants and we can move on, and I will be friends with Dem and Denna.
I don't even know how.
Dem and Denna.
Seems like Denna's not even like close friend either, because she's siding with Jeff a bit, her cousin.
Yeah, I feel like that part's just blood though.
Yeah, it's just blood.
Because
so it goes.
Denna was still like, and I'll be friends with both of you.
Yeah.
So,
but you've got Dem and you've got your whole poly group, so
yeah, you got your
that's
polycules
like
still.
3 built-in friends right there.
There you go.
We met up at a coffee shop where he repeated the same things and mentioned too that he didn't like my Instagram stories with indirects to him and Batty. I love a band that makes a lot of very angry music, and they had released a new album some days before this incident, so I didn't even know what he was talking about until he showed me the stories. He also told me he was showing my friends how much of a trash person I was, hence the loss of followers and friends. I was devastated and made the huge mistake of talking about this to Denna, who told me to stop talking about the subject because it was very inappropriate of me to talk about her cousin like that. I apologized immediately and told her I was not trying to talk bad about Jeff, just trying to understand what happened. Denna said it was okay and that we were still friends, but she became very distant and stopped answering texts as often as before. By the way, you shouldn't stop listening to full episodes of stories just like this, because you can go to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or iHeartRadio and search up OK Storytime, and then you can keep listening to them forever
and ever.
But there is a little bit left to this story. Any final thoughts?
I stand by the whole, like, let's just let this the messy people of this group go. You never liked Batty. Jeff is being just, like, very judgmental and awful and weird.
Denna's gonna support her cousin, honestly.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't see a problem with keeping Denna around at a very arm's length friendship.
Yeah.
And then you have Dem. And your little polycule, like, sounds like you got a support group still.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to be reaching after Jeff, who got his little army of 18 people to angrily unfollow you.
It's
like,
so
what?
weird. But there is a little bit left to this story. Over the last months and weeks, I lost another 20 followers and became an outcast in college, only being talked to by this girl named Flo, who told me everything Jeff has said about me, including a lot of lies, like me being a stalker, obsessed and jealous of him, trying to steal Batty from him, and being a creep around them. Of course, none of this is true, and there's no proof, which is why Flo approached me to talk. But this has been too much, and I have taken this summer as an opportunity to leave this college. I'm joining another one closer to my house and changing my career to graphic design.
Heck yeah.
Nice. Okay. Just yesterday, I realized that Denna, who has been texting me that she wasn't leaving and that we would always be friends, has blocked me. Now, I'm not taking my time to write a letter. I'm not searching for answers, nor will I try to save our friendships. I have decided that I will close my Instagram and not contact Denna anymore, nor my old friends who believed Jeff and didn't even question his words or try to know my side of the story. I have just stopped caring for these people who seem to not be as good friends as I thought. I'm writing this as a way to let go of all this trash. I'm tired, angry, and kind of sad, but mostly I feel numb. And that is the end of that story.